and welcome back to another video of jPlay. I am Marcus and today I want to walk you through some actual rounds of Dynasties by Matthias Kramer. Dynasties is a game for 3 to 5 players. I think it works kind of best with 4 players. It's cool with 3, it also works okay with 5 players, but then you need those nameless extra cities which you have to place besides those countries here, because otherwise things would really get too crowded. But I guess I will do a 4-player walkthrough today. I will not do a full playthrough here. I think it really doesn't make sense. I will just walk you through some actual rounds in order to give you an understanding of how the game actually feels like. Each player represents a noble family who wants to win this game, to be the most famous family here by getting the most amount of victory points by the end of the game. This is after 3 complete rounds. How do you do that? For once, you get points by sending your lords or ladies into those cities. Sometimes you get those points immediately, like here. You also get some points at the end of each round as long as your lord or your lady is alone in that city. You also get additional points after checking the area majority, and this is something that kind of reminds me of Royals, for example. Overall, the map really reminds me of Royals, which is a great game, by the way. Additionally, there are those scoring cards that you can play after each scoring round. So at the end of the actual rounds, you can play any number of those scoring cards. And even if you marry, you can gain some victory points by rolling those starry dice. And whenever you roll a good result here, you might come up with 6 additional victory points, which isn't really that bad in this game. I already prepared the game board here, so those area majority counting tiles, they are being placed at random here. So in this case, Paris or France actually is not really worth that many victory points. The most important country is the Sacrum Romanum Imperium here, so whoever has area majority by the end of the game gets 15 points, which is really quite a lot. Additionally, I also placed those book tokens here at random. There are 2 on each city where this book symbol is. They can provide you victory points, they can give you additional influence that you normally only reveal by the end of the game, but I really hope I will be able to show that mechanic to you as well. I also placed those personality tokens here on the game board at random. Here, for example, is Francis Drake, but those golden personalities here can only be played by a special action card, which you can get through this action deck here. I come to that in a second as well, but normally you can also use them by playing a standard action here. And I think I will explain some of those actions to you as I play. And more or less, last but not least, I drew 5 of those resources for each of the ships out of the cloth bag and assigned them to a ship. They are really just nameless resources or goods here, so it's a golden good, it's a white good, it's a blue good, it's a black good. This, I find it a little bit disappointing that they didn't come up with something here. So for here, it could be gold, for example. I don't know what this should be, silk or whatnot. Not really sure about that one, but yeah, for now, those are just blue resources and golden resources, and yeah, you can name them whatever you want. In a 4-player game, each player starts with 5 of those action cards, and each player gets 2 of those green scoring cards. The green scoring cards normally show you whatever 2 conditions in which you get some victory points. For example, having a lord in 2 cities, such as whatever Dresden and Madrid down there. Those cards basically give you some starting gold, so you're not completely clueless in what you are about to do. So your very first 1 or 2 actions can give you some slight directions on where to place your lords or ladies, for example. For my walkthrough, I more or less decided that blue will go first. This is the starting player token here, this basket of rose petals. I was not sure what those were, and then I checked the game box again, and then I said, oh wow, they seem to be roses. Originally I thought, hey, are there apples in the basket? But what are apples doing here? But yeah, I think I could sort that out for myself. So I think we can really pretty much get started. I will explain you everything else as I go. And I think the very first thing that we are going to do is to have a look at our action cards and our starting scoring cards here. So Lancaster and Dresden. If I'm happy enough to have 2 lords or ladies in Lancaster and Dresden, I would gain 12 victory points when I play this card. In only one of those cities I would gain 4 of the victory points. Here I'm not forced to play those cards, so I could rather wait until really I have the conditions for both of the cities. But you have to keep in mind there's a hand limit of 2 cards that you can basically bring from one round to the next. During a round you can have as many cards on your hand as you wish, but into the next round you're only allowed to keep 2 of those cards. In most cases, yeah, sometimes you have to swallow the pill and only score 1 of those cities. The action cards all follow a relatively same pattern here. Normally they provide you 3 actions, but of course they do differ from card to card. Let's have a look at one of those cards here. For example, this one here. This either allows you to claim one of the personality or to liaise with one of the blue personality. Normally you have to pay a price to do that, but I will show that to you in a second. This symbol means you can basically place one of your lords or ladies into one of those ship spaces. This grants you some goods. It's the best way to get some goods. And the middle symbol here tells you that you can use the bonus action, which is printed here on the bottom of this card. So for example, here you would have to spend 1 golden resource, whatever it is, to place one of your lords or ladies into London, and of course also gaining the 2 victory points. Normally, if you want to send a lord or a lady to London, you have to pay 2 black cubes or black resources or 1 white resource here. But let's just say you don't have any more white resources or black resources. In this case, you could play this card here instead, telling I want to use the special action here. I'm paying 1 of those yellow resources, and then I could send my lord or my lady to any of those spaces. On the left hand side of the board there is the lords, so the black cubes are the lords and the white cubes are the ladies. So the ladies are the white rows and the noblemen normally are being represented by this black sword here. As one of my scoring cards tells me to place a nobleman to Lancaster or Dresden, I think I will now play for my very first action this action card here. So the player will now play this card. He will tell us, hey, I want to use the bonus action here. Therefore he says I will play 1 golden resource. This golden resource goes right into the cloth bag, and then he or she would be allowed to either send a lord or a lady to Dresden, as the lord in this case is the bigger space and he has some more choices when it comes for an actual marriage. I think in this case I will totally send my blue dude here to the bigger action space. So this is now a lord. If the next player would send whatever a lady to that, it's really recommended to put her laying down, but this is not really gender specific. This should just represent that this is the smaller action spaces. As you can see here down in Augsburg, for example, there the lady is the bigger one. So in this case I would place the lady in an upright position and would lay down the lord instead. So no offense here. This is just the way that this game actually works. So I basically did my very first action with my blue guy here in Dresden, and then it's the green player's turn. I'm not really playing it clockwise order. I will just go from top to bottom and the other way around, but normally you would play that in a clockwise order, going from the first player token. And green plays this card here and tells us he wants to use the personality symbol on this card. So let's check out what personalities are present here. You always see a cost below each of those personalities, and those personalities get reshuffled at the end of each round. So for example, Francis Drake will not always be on this golden spot here, and I think for his action he wants to leverage the services here from Isabella the First and Ferdinand the Second. Therefore he has to pay 1 blue cube, and the bonus action on this personality tile allows you to trigger a marriage in a city where another player already has a lord or a lady. Right now that's only in Dresden, and so he will send his green lady here to Dresden. He does not need to pay those 2 white resources because he already paid the blue resource for Ferdinand and Isabella here. And in this case, when 2 characters come together in a city, there is an immediate marriage taking place. But first of all, let's shut the window here, so in this round no one else will be able to leverage this token here. Again, this blue thing goes back into the cloth bag, and now we will see a marriage. Isn't that nice? And I'm really happy to have a Eurogame that allows me to use my dice tower here, which provided me some good luck during my playthrough of Darkest Night, the 2nd edition. So in this case, the character that's on the smaller space here, so in this case this is the lady of the green player, he would now roll those 3 dowry dice here. So let's see what we roll. And now the same player has to basically create 2 groups of dice. So one group consisting of 2 dice and the other group consisting of only 1 dice, and then the player who's on the bigger space in Dresden, in this case the blue lord, gets to choose. So it's basically I split you choose mechanism, which works really great in this game. And I think in this case we see a baby here, we see 3 victory points, and we see some gray influence. So I think we will make it like this. So the green player gives the blue player the choice of choosing those dice here. And I think because area majority in Germany is relatively important, or in the Sacrum Romanum Imperium, I think he will go for this group here. So he immediately scores 3 victory points. So 1, 2 and 3, and additionally he gets 1 of those influence token for the Sacrum Romanum Imperium. This token is really the equivalent of a lord or lady in that country, but we still have to deal with this birth result here, which belongs to the green player. So he's now allowed to place a baby on the star spot here below Dresden. So this means that both green and the blue player have 2 points worth of influence in the Sacrum Romanum Imperium. So 2 from the actual meeples here, and 1 for the meeple of the blue player, and also those influence token that he was allowed to gain from the marriage here. Awesome! Then it's the turn of the orange player, and I think he wants to play this card here, and he wants to use the ship action because he desperately needs some resources. So he will send 1 of his meeples to either of those ships. I think this looks pretty nice because here are the most white and black resources which you normally need in order to place lords or ladies on the board. And the first meeple always goes to the bigger spot of a ship, and the next player to get there, for example, would also trigger a deal action, so a trading action basically, and then it follows the same pattern. It's also a I split you choose kind of style, but in this case we do have 5 resources available. And then last but not least, it's the red player who wants to play this action card here, and he goes for the bonus action down here. So he has to spend 1 golden resource, and therefore he would be allowed to use either of those personality tokens that are currently on those golden spaces here. And I think he will go for Francis Drake here, and Francis Drake allows the red player to get 1 resource from each of those ships. And I think he will go for a black resource here, another black resource there, and yeah, why not? Let's go crazy and get 1 additional black resource from those ships. So those will be all removed and put to the pile of the red player. And the problem now is those are not being refilled until the end of the round or when an actual trade will be triggered. As we all know, Francis Drake was a famous or infamous buccaneer, which is why he just stole some of the goods from the other players. Poor orange dude here. As we all know, blue is already halfway through his first scoring card here, so he was able to place a lord into Dresden. In order to get someone to Lancaster, you need to have 2 white cubes for a lady or 3 black cubes for a lord. Unfortunately, he currently only have 1 of each, so that's clearly not enough. So I think he will play this card here, so he will go for a ship action as well. And he really doesn't care that there are only 4 resources, because he will send his blue trader to the smaller space on the ship here. He could also go for this spaces here, but then he would have to wait until the trade is actually triggered, and he really wants some resources. And this now really follows the same mechanic as in a marriage, so the smaller spaced guy here will get all of those 4 resources and will create 2 piles. He really wants to have at least 1 white cube, and I think he will do it like this because it's pretty obvious what the other player will choose. Now the guy on the bigger space gets to choose first. This is the orange player, and I think orange will totally go for this group here of resources, so he's allowed to get those. So let's give those to the orange player, and those resources go straight to the blue player. Those meeples go back to the players where they do belong, and we refill this ship right away with 5 new cubes. So let's see. Oh wow, that's really great selection of pieces we have down there. And then it's the green player again. He will play this card. He will go for the lady symbol on this action card, and he decides to send a lady to Barcelona, so he has to pay 1 white resource. Again, this is the smaller space, so we'd have to lay her down. This goes back to the cloth bag. Here he sees he gets immediate 2 victory points, which isn't that bad. And here I noticed, or the orange player noticed, that everyone was sleeping, so basically that was just me. He will totally go for the personality action on this card, because he can go for an audience with Elizabeth I, who doesn't even cost us any resources. I totally did not see this. And yeah, Elizabeth I grants you 2 of those additional action cards. So 1 and 2, which gives you 2 additional action in this very first round, which is really a very big deal. I was totally asleep, and normally the first player would normally always go there first, that's for sure. Then it's again the red player's turn. He will go for this action, and I think he wants to place a lord, and therefore he pays 4 resources to send a lord into Paris, which is really pretty okay for him. Note that France is not worth that many victory points by the end of the game, but this also means that most of the other players might really go for the higher scoring regions like the Sacrum Romanum Empire. So if he is here all alone, he could gain those points basically for himself, because there are actually 2 scoring opportunities in a given country. Basically, for once, the majority of your meeples and or influence tokens, and also in respect to the crown spaces. So if you happen to have meeples in all the crown cities of France, and in France it's only Paris, you can immediately score those 4 victory points here. So he totally made sure to get those 4 victory points by the end of the game. Then it's back to blue, and I think he really wants to complete his scoring card here. So he wants to send a lord or a lady to Lancaster, because he already is present in Dresden. So I think he will go for this action card here. He will use it as a lady action, so he has to pay two of those white cubes, and therefore he can place a lady to Lancaster. Keep in mind those scoring cards will get scored by the end of a scoring round if you happen to play this card, but there's no reason not to do that. And then it's the green player who desperately needs some more resources, so I think he will go for this ship action, and so he will send one of his traders to the bigger spot of this middle ship here, because there are the most resources and they are also the most powerful resource, so black and white, when it comes to actually placing lords or ladies on the game board. Then it's the orange player who is really happy because he has two more cards than anyone else, so he will play this joker. The joker gives you all four basic actions, so a lord, a lady, a personality and a ship, but he does not have a special action here, so in this case you can only play it for basic action, and I think he will go for a ship action, and he wants to trigger a trade, so he will send one of his traders to this middle ship here. So let's grab those resources, and he wants to make sure he gets a black and a white resource, so he will make it like this. Green player will choose first, of course he will go for those stones. Orange himself would get those two. Again, we would remove the meeples. Let's draw 5 new resources for this ship down there. Then it's the red player, and I think he will go for this card. Again, he wants to go for this personality action, so he will pay 1 blue cube in order to get in contact with Jakob Fugger, and Jakob Fugger allows you to claim resources from the other player. So per 6 resources one player has, he gets 1 resource from this player. If one player has less than 6, he would gain 1 resource from the bag. So let's see what the players currently have. So blue is below 6 resources, so therefore red player gains 1 resource from the sack. Here he gets, well, a blue cube back. Let's check out the green player. He has exactly 6 resources, so he has to give him 1 resource. He wants to hold on to black and white, so I think let's give him one of those pink resources, and I think the orange player will also give him 1 additional blue resource. Then it's back to the blue player, and he wants to go for the second scoring card here. So London might be a pretty good deal for him. Let's see what he can play. He will go for the bonus action of this card, therefore he has to pay 1 golden resource, and this allows him to send 1 lord to London. Therefore he scores immediate 1-2 victory points. Then it's green. He will go for this action card. He will use it for a lord action. Therefore he pays 2 of those black resources and places a green lord to Edinburgh. This is a crown city, so if you are able to get basically lords or ladies into 2 of those crown cities here in Britannia, you would score those 6 points here. Right now blue and green are both doing good in that perspective. With slightly panicked eyes, the orange player plays this card here and tells, I want to do a lady action, so using the rose on this card, paying 3 white cubes to place a lady, and this time it's an upright lady here to Edinburgh. So we will see an immediate marriage. This time the lord will roll the dice and will form the group, so let's do that. Okay, let's see, let's do some grouping, and I think he will do it like this. So those are the 2 groups, because otherwise he could gain, or the other player could gain 4 resources, which is quite a lot. But nevertheless orange will go for those 2 dice, so scoring 3 points, 1, 2 and 3, and additionally he gets 2 resources out of the cloth bag. So let's see, black and a pink one, that's not too bad, and green has to go with this action here, which means he can send 1 of his traders to 1 of those ships. Then it's the red player, and he really has to play this card here using the rose action. So red will pay 1 of those white cubes. He will send a lady here to London, therefore he scores 1, 2 of those points, and then we see another marriage. Let's see. Okay, what do we have here? Awesome. So I think he will do it like this. These are 5 points. This is really quite a lot. This gives you 1 influence in Spain or Hispania, and here you are allowed to draw 3 of those scoring cards and keep 1 of those. This is really, really powerful, and this goes between the blue and the red player. Blue gets to choose first. These are both tempting, but I guess blue feels kind of lucky. I think he will go for this thing here. So for once he gets 1 of those influence tokens, so he has 1 of those for Sacrum Romanum Empire and 1 from Hispania already. And here are the 3 scoring cards that the blue player just drew. Here you get for each crown or each family member in a crowned city 4 victory points in the first round, 3 in the second round, or 2 in the third round. So whenever you play this card, this slowly decreases, and this is really per family member. So if you have a lot of children on the board in crowned cities, you can really score a lot of points, and this can be good one. Here you get in 1 country, if you are in a city with a crown and 1 of those anchors here, you get in the first round 12, 10, then 6 victory points, and here it's pretty much the same. In 1 country you have to be present in a city with a crown and in a city with a book in order to score those points. So this can be more, to be honest. So I think, and he already has 2 family members in cities with crowns, so I think he will go for this thing here. Yeah, why not? Let's go crazy. Those 2 will get discarded basically, or better put back to the bottom of these golden scoring cards. And note, currently he is at 3 of those scoring cards, and keep in mind you are only allowed to bring 2 of those into the next round. And here it really doesn't matter if those are green or golden or any combination of those 2 scoring cards. It is that you are allowed to forward to the next round here. Of course, we must not forget the 5 points for the red player, which isn't that bad, to be honest. And now most of the players only have 1 action card less, but everyone but the orange player, because he was using Elizabeth I, or was having an audience with Elizabeth I. Sounds much nicer. And you can now really think of either passing because you want to keep this card, but then the round is basically over, or you can really just play this card. Also note, you're only allowed to move over 1 action card into the next round. Each player gets 5 new action cards, so in this case the blue player would gain 6 actions there, whereas all the other players maybe only get 5 of those. There are additional, let's say, boni on the board, like the cool passing mechanism up there, so you also get a bonus at the end of each round, and 1 of those bonuses can be an additional action card here. But I think he will not pass. I think he will play his last action card for the sword action, so placing another lord. And I believe he wants to go for Santiago because he just got this additional influence token here for Spain, so it couldn't hurt to also bring some lords or ladies there. In this case it's a small lord. Therefore he gains 1 of those book tokens. So let's have a look. Normally you really keep those hidden from the other players. And here he seems to be extremely lucky, and I think he will totally go for this one. So this time he will play it right away, so you can play those tokens right away if you want to do that. Those are getting basically removed from the game, and therefore he's now allowed to gain 1 additional action card. Again, he can move this over to the next round, or he could theoretically play it in the very same round. So let's see what we found. And this isn't actually that bad. It's a shipping action, and a shipping action could really help him to get some of those white cubes, or at least 1 of those, and this could be really beneficial for the very next round. Awesome. Then it's the green player, and I think he will go for this bonus action here, which lets you pass. So normally you don't have to spend an action card in order to pass, but in this case you can pass better than the other players, and it clearly tells you what you are going to do. You are taking one of your lords or ladies here and place either her or him to the very start of the passing track here. Normally, if you are paying, let's say in a normal kind of way, you are placing your meeple to this row here. This can hold up to 5 meeples, and whoever is first here in this track will basically be the first player to take a bonus action and will be the starting player in the next round. But in this case there are some bonus spaces where you can place your worker, therefore you have to pay these pink cubes here, and in this case you really made sure that you will, or green will be definitely the very first player to choose the next bonus, which is always a good thing. And it's orange again. He will play this card. He wants to go for a lord action. So he pays 3 plague cubes in order to place a lord to Lancaster. And again we will see a marriage. And again we will roll the marriage dice. This one doesn't go through. Let's see what we found. And again blue has to divide up the groups, and I think he really wants to do it like this, even though this means a lot of resources for one of the players. And I think orange will go for this pile here. So for once he gets 2 resources out of the cloth bag. Wow, 2 black cubes. He's really incredibly lucky here. And for the second die he will trigger a trade here with the green player. He's on the smaller side of the ship, so he will, I think he will do it like this. So now the green player gets to choose, and yeah, why not? I think green goes for the 3 resources here, and yeah, orange got what he wanted. He wanted those 2 white cubes. Again, let's remove the meeples. Let's draw 5 new resources. Wow, not too bad of a draw. But we are still in a marriage action, so blue still gets his 4 victory points, which brings him to 9 victory points in total. Red really doesn't have the right set of resources, but one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that you can use those pink cubes here in order to substitute another resource. So 2 of those pink resources equal any one of the other resources. So this could theoretically be 2 white cubes. But I think red wants to play this joker here. He will go for the ship action, and so he will place his lord or lady on the bigger space of this middle ship here. Because of the bonus tile or the book tile that the blue player drew, he was able to get an additional card, and yeah, I think he will play it right away. He will go for the ship action and will trigger a trade with the red player. So I think he will do it like no, I think he will do it like this. And red gets to decide. Unfortunately, red has an awful amount of those blue cubes already. So I think in this case he will go for the smaller amount of cubes. And blue gets those 3. Let's remove the meeples. Let's replenish the ship. Oh, these were 5 cubes right away. Green has already passed. Then it's orange. I think he will, yeah, he will play this joker here. He will go for the lady action. So he pays 2 cubes and will place a lady here to Carcassonne, which is also an awesome game, by the way. Therefore he scores 2 victory points. Then it's the red player. He's out of action cards, so I think he has to pass, so he will place his worker right there. He could now pay some points in order to make sure he gets further here on this initiative track, but I think for now he feels okay, so he will go here to this spot right away. So in this order, green would go first, then red, and whoever comes behind him accordingly. Then it's a blue player. He's also out of action cards, so he will pass as well, but he will spend one pink cube in order to place his blue meeple there. And orange also plays his last action card now. He will go, I guess, for the ship action here and will place one of his meeples on the right hand ship here. All the other players have passed, so the orange player has to pass as well. I think he will also pay one of those pink resources in order to place his meeple there. So red will be now last when it comes to choosing those bonuses here, which is really kind of unfortunate. And now we come to the end of the round, so all trades are still being triggered. So if you are alone on a ship, you are able to choose two of those resources that are present on this ship. So in this case, orange will go for the white and the blue resources here. Those will get discarded and the ship will be replenished right away. Let's see. Wow, that's also a very great draw. All other ships that only have 4 or less resources will also get emptied, so we will replenish this as well. Let's see, this is because of Francis Drake. This had 5, so we keep it as it is. This one gets removed. Then we replenish the personalities. So let's just do that here at random. Not looking. Drake is now here, relatively cheap. That's cool. Jakob Fugger is down there this round. The player who leads the passing track gets the starting player token, and then each player gets a bonus action again according to the track here. So green would be able to choose first. All those 6 spaces can only be occupied once. This action space here is kind of a bonus, so any number of players could go there, but it does not really happen that often. And I think green wants to go for this bonus action down there, so he gets this bonus tile which only he would be able to score in Germany right now. So if he would be part of the majority leading results here, then he would gain 5 victory points, and the same would be true if he would gain victory points for the crowns. In this case he would also gain 5 additional victory points. Because he already has 2 people in Germany, I think this makes sense for the green player. Blue will go for this space here, so he would gain 1 bonus card for the next round. This can always be useful. Orange will go for a scoring card, so again he would be allowed to draw 3 of those and would choose 1. And I think red will go for the free city action space, so he is now allowed to grab 1 of the free cities, and I think he will go for this one. You still have to pay in order to place a lord or a lady. You have to choose which country this lord or lady will go to, and I think in this case he will place the free city here to Britannia. He will pay 2 of those white cubes. He will place a lady here, and therefore he gets this book token here, and I will not show you what this is. He can keep this until he wants to play this. These were all the bonus actions, and now we can do the final scoring. All lords or ladies which are alone in a city will now get scored based on the round tracker here, which shows 4 points if you are on the big space of a city and 2 points if you are on a small space on the city. So in this case here blue would gain 2 victory points. The same would be true for green down there, but here orange would gain 4 victory points, and so on. And now players would start to play out scoring cards, and I normally do that in player order, and I think green wants to play this scoring card here. So if you would have someone in Dresden and Barcelona, let's have a look. Here is Barcelona and there is Dresden. So in this case, the green player would score 10 victory points for this card. Awesome! The same would be true for the blue player now. So he has someone in Lancaster and Dresden, so he would score 12 points. And of course he would totally play this card. He could also play already this card here because he has someone in London. But right now there's no one down here in Madrid. So I think he will hold on to this card and he could still decide if he wants to play this card here. Right now he has 2 meeples in cities with crowns, so he would gain 8 points for this. This is also not too bad, but he could now really think of playing it right now or waiting for the next round and hope for at least 12 points by placing maybe 2 more of his meeples into cities with crowns and so on. And the other players would now theoretically do the same. So this card is definitely played, that's for sure. And you are allowed to move 2 of those scoring cards into the next round. I kind of forgot that each of the players will also get 4 additional action cards for the next round, and this is basically what you have for the next round, or unless you have some bonus from the last round or something from your bonus action here. Then we would flip this round tracker here. So in the next round, single lords and ladies would get 6 or 3 points, but if you want to keep a lord or a lady in a city, then by the end of the round you would have to pay 1 of those pink cubes for each of the lord or the ladies you want to keep in that city, unless they are not married. And yes, this goes on until round 3. In round 3 you don't get any scoring for solo lords or ladies here. You would do the area majority calculation and also the crown city calculation, and then whoever has the most amount of victory points will be the winner and the most famous and noble family in the known world. And yeah, this pretty much brings me to the end of my walkthrough of Dynasties. It was a pretty long video, so I do apologize for that if things got too boring, but I really wanted to walk through an entire round of it, and I really hope things got clear in this walkthrough. I really love this game. I think it's really fun. It plays well. There is no 2-player mode available as of now. Maybe someone will come up with a variant for this one, but this is really a game which you should enjoy with 3, 4 or 5 players. A big deal. Yeah, and then hope to see you soon in one of my next videos, and until then, bye bye.